Pleasant good evening and welcome to News Desk, 45 minutes of news for the News and Current Affairs Department here at the Renaissance Communications Incorporated. Today is Tuesday, March 25, 2025. And my name is Johnson Gbarntolmah presenting. In our headlines, Ministry of Internal Affairs announces the suspension of traditional practices in Liberia until January 2026 as Minister Francis Myean threatens unspecified actions against school-bee violators. Aggrieved students of the Monrovia Consolidated School System continue their protest, calling on national government to address MCSA teachers' plights, including salary increment. As Education Minister Dr. Jaso Jala described the students' protest as a plot carried out for personal gain. Public Safety Division of the Ministry of Justice and the Liberian Medical and Dental Council with immediate effect shut down Lofa Melik's service clinic in Jakarta, Painesville for medical malpractice resulting to the death of a patient. And away from Liberia, a Sudani war monitor accuses the military of killing hundreds of people in an airstrike at a market in the country's western region. These plus many more the reading of the news bulletin sports are all packaged on today's edition of the program News Desk. We are powered by Orange Liberia and EcoBank Liberia Limited. We'll take a break to be back.
Ria TV, True FM.
Ria TV, True FM.
On Ria TV,
into True FM 96.1.
What's the meaning of the black barrier?
The black barrier is to tell Joseph Bakala if you don't organize yourself in a grateful manner, we'll take you a better Liberia.
You might say what you want to say.
Roberts will set the pace with the reading of the news bulletin. Good evening.
Good evening, Johnson. Good evening, everyone. The Ministry of Internal Affairs has announced the suspension of all traditional practices of the country as of April 30th, 2025. The decision, according to Internal Affairs Minister Francis Numale, is attributed to the proliferation of traditional practices without check and balance, the hampering of children's school processes, and the forceful initiation of teenagers for commercial purposes. Addressing a news conference on Tuesday in Monrovia, Minister Numale disclosed that the decision comes following a consultation meeting with the chiefs. That's the Council of Chiefs across the 15 counties, where they recommended that all activities involving Sunday and Plural Society are suspended until January 2026. He further set April 30th as a deadline for those currently in Pearl and Sandy budgets to be released, thus threatening unspecified actions against who-be violators. In a related development, the Minister of Affairs has dissolved with immediate effect all positions of existing cultural leadership. According to Minister Numale, the decision was made to allow all counties' cultural coordinators positions be recommended by the office of the county's superintendent. He further disclosed that he will be meeting with the Council of Chiefs shortly to decide on the regulation of cultural activities. Aggrieved students of the Monrovia Consolidated School System (MCSS) have intensified protests in solidarity with MCSS teachers' salaries increments, among others. Recently, the MCSS Teachers Association announced an indefinite stay-home action until that their demands can be addressed by national government. The MCSS teachers' demands, among other things, outline the immediate adjustment of monthly salaries for some employees in keeping with their academic qualifications, and to transfer all volunteer workers to the full-time employment. But among the students who were seen in government school uniforms believed to be from William V. Stutman, G.W. Gibson, and D2 Public Schools began a peaceful protest calling on national government to address the plights of the MCSS teachers to enable them return to their classrooms. The demonstration on Tuesday, day 2, represent a significant that's resulted in significant disruption after another group believed to be a member of the student-based Unification Party SUP joined with the students setting up a roadblocks in front of the University of Liberia main campus, which led to a huge traffic congestion as vehicles were unable to navigate through the barricaded streets. According to our reporter who visited the scene, this resulted to law enforcement officers, especially the Liberia National Police, firing tear gas aimed at scattering the protesters. Meanwhile, Education Minister Dr. Jaso Jalai has termed the NCSS students' protest as a plot carried out for personal gains. Dr. Jalai disclosed that the Monrovia Consolidated School System has an annual budget of 4.2 million United States dollars, emphasizing that the total of 3.9 million United States dollars is used for salaries. Minister Jala stressed that MCSS teachers have been paid their salaries, terming the protest action as concerning. According to Minister Jaso Jala, certain individuals are the actual conspirator of the protest to paint a negative image of the government. Liberia's education minister narrated that the action is unfortunate as the students deserve a conducive space to learn, frowning at individuals she said are manipulating the students to abandon their instructional periods. Dr. Jalai has, however, disclosed that the ministry is collaborating with the Liberia National Police to establish the actual individuals behind the situation. In a related development, several students believed to be connected to the MCSS protests have been released by the Liberia National Police. They were apprehended during violent scenes that resulted to firing of tear gas by police and the throwing of stones by students. The students have maintained that they will continue their action until the government addresses their plots. The Ministry of Justice, in collaboration with the Liberia Medical and Dental Council, LMDC, has arrested the administrator of the Lofa Medic Services Clinic in Jacobtown in Pinsville, Sam Waluba, for alleged medical malpractice resulting to the death of a Liberian citizen. The Public Safety Division of the Ministry of Justice and the LMDC have with immediate effect shut down the local health facility pending investigation. Sam Waluba, who purported as a medical doctor, performed a surgery on a 30-year-old man identified as Samuel P. Colley, which led to his death in the area. Sam Waluba is currently in the custody of the Liberia National Police, undergoing interrogation. The leadership crisis at the House of Representatives is still ongoing, despite intervention by the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. Embattled Speaker Councillor Funati Kofa, along with the rule of law caucus, has since met with the ECOWAS delegation led by Speaker Haji to Ibrahim to address the ongoing legislative impasse. According to our Senate reporter, key national stakeholders were part of the discussions focusing on upholding the 1986 Constitution and the House rules. ECOWAS emphasized the need for political adherence to the rule of law. Embattled Speaker Kofa expressed support for ECOWAS' six-point proposal, viewing it as a path towards restoring unity. However, tensions remain as the majority bloc of 43 lawmakers demand his resignation and conduct separate legislative sections, deepening the stalemate. Although the ECOWAS delegation did not secure a definite agreement, they remain hopeful for a resolution. The situation presents a critical movement for Liberian leadership to engage in dialogue and uphold constitutional governance for national stability. The Supreme Court is expected to entertain a legal argument on Wednesday, March 26, 2025, in connection to embattle her Speaker, Councillor Funati Kofa's Bill of Information following a 5-month delay by the High Court. Kofa's request to the court is seeking for an interpretation of the Supreme Court's December 6, 2024 judgment after Justice Minister Councillor Uzwa Twe account to President Joseph Boakai regarding the court's decision on the matter. Minister Twe interpretation of the Supreme Court opinion to President Joseph Boakai, according to RCR judicial correspondent, led to the executive branch of government doing business with the majority bloc headed by its representative Richard Cohn. At the same time, reports says Wednesday legal proceeding will see the respondent lawyer Councillor Vanish Sharon considering an application to the High Court to seek for the recusal of Associate Justice Yami Wese from Wednesday's argument following his public statement on the matter when Kofa's bill of information was still before the court for determination. On February 3rd, 2024, Justice Wese told lawyers at the opening of the February term of court in Nima County that justices of the Supreme Court boycotted President Joseph Boakai annual address at the Capitol building on grounds that the setting of lawmakers under the majority bloc Speaker Richard Cohn was illegal. The Office of the Establishment of the World and Economic Crimes Court in Liberia and the Liberia Council of Churches have signed a memorandum of understanding aimed at accelerating the court's establishment. During the signing ceremony, the executive director for the Office for the Establishment of the World and Economic Crimes Court, Councillor Jada Babu, signed on behalf of his office, while the Secretary General of the Liberia Council of Churches, Reverend Christopher Toll, signed on behalf of the LCC. Speaking during the signing ceremony, the executive director for the World and the Establishment for the World and Economic Crimes Court, Councillor Jada Babu, said the decision to establish a World and Economic Crimes Court has the propensity to make or break the society. According to him, the decision to establish the World and Economic Crimes Court will never be placed under the carpet. For its part, the Secretary General of the Liberia Council of Churches, Dr. Christopher Toll, said affixing his signature to the MOU is to accelerate the efforts aimed at establishing the World and Economic Crimes Court in Liberia. Bomi County Senator and former House Speaker Ellis Tyler is expected to lead prominent citizens and supporters to converge for the homecoming of the Liberia People's Democratic Party, LPDP, at its headquarters in Congo Senator Tyler, former Foreign Minister Gateway McIntosh, and dozens of others left the LPDP because of ideological and political differences during the 2023 presidential and legislative election, when a large number of the party's National Executive Committee declared support for the Coalition for Democratic Change. Making the disclosure to the media, the National Vice Chairman for Press and Public Affairs of the LPDP, George Wotor, described the homecoming for LPDP as an historic event. Want to explain that the gathering of the LPDP members will also create the springboard in charting a broader future for the party. Several Liberian legal practitioners are deeply troubled by Justice Sianen Yo's decision to reopen the unethical case between Bala Yambo and Councillor Samuel Pearson following the conclusion of the matter by the Supreme Court. On February 17, 2025, the High Court reaffirmed the Grievance and Ethics Commission's February 7, 2024 recommendation with a modification to suspend Councillor Samuel Pearson for legal practice for the period of from legal practice for the period of 6 months in Liberia, despite the GEC's findings of 3 months suspension, but without restriction. The lawyers on Tuesday told RCR judicial correspondent that the GEC February 7, 2024 recommendations that the High Court's replies to suspension that the suspension of Councillor Samuel Pearson for 6 months did not speak for any restitution of the $9,500 on the matter, but interestingly, the GEC chair, Councillor Cyrus Jones, has informed Chief Justice Sianen Yo through a communication dated on March 20th, 2025 regarding the amount. An international women activist, Madam Chipo Yamboyard, has acknowledged women to recognize the power they possess in shaping the future. She said women play a pivotal role in creating life by raising and shaping the minds of teachers, lawyers, and politicians. Speaking Tuesday at a start of a 3-day National Women Conference organized by the Liberia Ministers Network Fellowship in Painesville, Madam Yamboyard urged women not to stay back. Instead, they should be at the front to take the lead. She spoke on a theme, the role of women in community initiative and nation building. For her part, the Liberia Ministers Network Fellowship Secretariat, Madam Thawern Salted Brown, underscored that violence against women has turned to a global epidemic that needs urgent response. The Ministry of Health, in collaboration with partners, have ended the first phase of the validation dialogue on Liberia Health Equity Funds. The Liberia Health Equity Funds validation is a financial mechanism intended to improve access to health care for underprivileged and low-income population. Speaking on behalf of the Health Minister, Dr. Louis Porto, at the climax of the event on Tuesday in Painesville, the Minister in charge of Preventive Services, Dr. Kolu Howard, lauded the partners for the collaboration in ensuring that the process of the provision of adequate health services to the citizenry be prioritized. She acknowledged participants to be advocates for the social insurance for universal health coverage that will enable those who cannot afford health services get better health services. For its part, the co-chair of health at the House of Representatives, Augustine Chawolo, called for a robust step from the Ministry of Health in ensuring that the outcomes of the process begin to take effect. Monserrate County District 2 representative has donated several materials valued over $1,000 to fire victims in the district. Recently, fire gutted a 5-bedroom house, burning it down to ashes, leaving occupants homeless. The items donated include cement, zinc, carton of both wires, and zinc nails, rice, among others. During the presentation of the items to the family, Monserrate County District 2 representative described the situation as heartbreaking and a total setback for the family, pledging his office full support to enable them restart their lives. And out of Liberia now, a Sudan War Monitor has accused the military of killing hundreds of people in an airstrike at the market in the country's western region. The Emergency Lawyers Group, which documents abuses by both sides in Sudan's civil war that erupted in April 2023, said the bombing of Thuran Market was a terrific massacre that has also left hundreds injured. That's our CNN's bulletin. Is back to Johnson.
Ria TV, True FM.
Say Ria TV, True FM.
On Ria TV,
into Truth FM 96.1.
what's the meaning of the black barrier?
The black barrier is to tell Joseph Bakala, if you don't organize yourself in a grateful manner, we'll take your better life.
You might say what you want to say, but for us, we are here to make sure we build our country, that we are respected. We have donors that are coming because of the confidence.
Some news summary of 12. My name is Hansen Der Represent. Welcome to News and Analysis 30 minutes of news presentation about Liberia, Africa, and our one world.
Presenting this newscast is proudly sponsored by Orange Liberia and EcoBank Liberia Limited.
The news bulletin is a regular feature on News Desk. Thanks to Naketa Roberts for bringing us the news bulletin. If you're just joining us, this is News Desk, 45 minutes of news for the News and Current Affairs Department here at the Renaissance Communications Incorporated. Today is Tuesday, March 5, 2025. My name is Johnson Gbarntolmah presenting in our first development on the program. The Ministry of Health, in collaboration with partners, have ended the first phase of the validation dialogue on Liberia Health Equity Funds. The Liberia Health Equity Funds validation is a financial mechanism intended to improve access to healthcare for underprivileged and low-income population. Speaking on behalf of Health Minister Dr. Louis Poto at the climax of the event on Tuesday in Painesville, the Minister in charge of Preventive Services, Dr. Kula Howard, lauded the partners for the collaboration in ensuring that the process of provision of adequate health service to the citizenry be prioritized. She acknowledged participants to be advocate for the social insurance for universal health coverage that will enable those who cannot afford with better health service. She's Dr. Kolu Howard. She's the Minister in charge of Preventive Services at the Ministry of Health. They're speaking for his part, the co-chair on health at the House of Representatives, Augustine Chiwolu, called for bold steps from the Ministry of Health in ensuring that the outcome of the process began to take effect by affecting positively those who cannot afford. He's Augustine Chiwolu. He's the co-chair on health at the House of Representatives. They're speaking. Also speaking, World Bank liaison officer for Global Financing Facility, Georgia Quay, pledged the World Bank's commitment of support to ensuring that the process comes to fruition, aimed at comforting or informing actors on decision making.
Discussions so far, seeing all the interventions that were listed on, but looking forward to the outcome of the meeting. It's not just a green thing, but really the ongoing process, and I would also thank the ministry for taking the lead on this and ensuring that we have a lot of this is just the beginning, and this is something that we want to keep continuing things together to ensure that the talks are the way the government has approved. And so we also want to send our thanks and appreciation to the consultant for being a part of this process, and we have the government opportunities of the government. Thank you also to our legislators who were part of this process, and every entity is spoken here. On behalf of the resident, I want to say we continue to push and support to see that this process is not easy. I put on the final documents and inform the citizens and leaders to know the make the decision.
She is World Bank Liaison Officer for Global Financing Facility. She's Georgia Quick there speaking earlier on the heard the voice of the co-chair on health at the House of Representatives, Augustine Chewuru, and also the Minister in charge for Preventive Services, Dr. Kolu Howard, speaking on behalf of Dr. Louis Porto, the Minister of Health, there at the end of a two-day validation dialogue on health or Liberia Health Equity Fund. Let's bring you this development on the program. The Office for the Establishment of War and Economic Crimes Court in Liberia and the Liberia Council of Churches have signed a memorandum of understanding aimed at accelerating the court's establishment. During the signing ceremony, the Executive Director of the Office for the Establishment of War and Economic Crimes Court, Councillor Jala Bapu, signed on behalf of his office. He is the Executive Director of the Office for the Establishment of War and Economic Crimes Court in Liberia, Councillor Jala Bapu, the speaking for his part. The Secretary General of the Liberia Council of Churches, Dr. Christopher Toole, said affixing his signature to the MOU is to accelerate the efforts aimed at establishing the War and Economic Crimes Court in Liberia.
Come today to affix our signature to a document that on our shelves were for the transformation of the lives of our people and the development of our country. So we as the Liberia Council of Churches, representing this auspicious body, chaired by the Reverend Dr. Samuel Gibbs Jr., President of the Liberia Council of Churches, Bishop Samuel J. Choir, First Vice President, Moderator Sanjay Abiosa Stepton, Second Vice President, Mr. Emmanuel T. Howe, Treasurer, and in my own name as General Secretary, Reverend Dr. Christopher to the press. We want to say that we will commit ourselves for now affixing our signature to this document. We have called for it. We have said before the support the implementation of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission report. And that report is been actualized today. through the executive order of our president, Joseph Walker, will establish this office to lead the process of the establishment of the courts. We join you today, and my sisters, to say to you that we are reviewing this, and we want to make sure that we put into place the necessary modus operandi to make sure that it works.
He is the Secretary General of the Liberia Council of Churches, Dr. Christopher Toll, there speaking when signed on behalf of the organization, and earlier on heard the voice of the Executive Director of the Office for the Establishment of War and Economic Crimes Court in Liberia, Councillor Jala Bapu, there speaking also during the signing ceremony. An international women activist, Madam Chipo Yampuya, has admonished women to recognize their power they possess in shaping the future. She said women play a pivotal role in creating life by raising and shaping the mind of teachers, lawyers, and politicians. Speaking Tuesday at the start of a 3-day National Women Conference organized by the Liberia Ministers Network Fellowship in Painesville, Madam Yampuya urged women not to stay at the back. Instead, they should be at the front to take the lead. She spoke on the theme, the role of women in community initiative and nation building.
This conference is about for Liberian women. It's about African women. So it's not that women in the African country, we are the nation of Africa before the white people came, before the Congo people came. I'm half Congo and half country, so I can talk it. Before they came, all of that part of the world, women. We are the creators. We bring life. We shape life. We shape community. I got all the men that headed the church and this one and that one and the other one. Why the church survive? We create community. We create the must survive because of we. We create. We shape. We determine. We say. It's our word. Nothing happens. Nothing is completed. Nothing is fulfilled without them. So certainly pray to our God, pray to Allah, and give praise. Without Mary, there was no Jesus. Without Hadassah, Khadijah, there was no prophet. So we as women should never apologize for being blind to our power. We give praise to where praise is warranted, and we call out abuse. It was the women.
She is an international women activist, Madam Chipo Yampuya. They are speaking during the start of a 3-day National Women Conference organized by the Liberia Ministers Network Fellowship in Painesville. For part, the Liberia Ministers Network Fellowship Secretariat, Madam Johnson Gbarntolmah, underscored that violence against women has turned into a global epidemic that needs urgent response. She said women should know their rights, urging them to not to keep silent on the issue of violence against them, which she said can be eradicated through collective efforts.
Because even in the church, abuse the same in the church. And sometimes we believe that we get there. We get there, we say yes. The one one that the pastor, man pastor, the everything that we need. That you the women you get there, you take care. Because when you start to tell your family, they wait to look at the pastor. When they woke up, feeding the pig in the wood and nobody is looking. So by the time the archbishop for me, he said, when you look at the pastor, and hey, now the property looking up. Hallelujah. So you see the thing that calls violence against women. It's not a small thing. And it is not just happening for maybe the children that you see in the street. It goes beyond that. And it's something called a global epidemic. When they say global epidemic, that disease, so violence against women, it's not just happening in Liberia. It's happening all over the world.
She is Madam Toronto Brown. She is the Liberia Ministers Network Fellowship Secretariat. They are speaking at the start of a 3-day National Women Conference in Liberia. Earlier on, they heard the voice of Madam Chipo Yampuya, who also an international women activist. If you're just joining us, this is News Desk for the 5 minutes of news for the News and Current Affairs Department here at the Renaissance Communications Incorporated. At this juncture, we now join Naomi Tapia to bring us the Passion of Life Sports. Good evening.
Life. First President on Tuesday donated 10,000 United States dollars to the Lone Star of Liberia after uniting victoriously against a side to me and possibly outnumbered Nicholas and Joseph ran for Column. First half goals ensured a win for Liberia at home to South Korea in Principe. The win made it second against South Korea and Principe in the group stage after defeating them 1-0 in the first leg. The match was in continuation of the 2026 FIFA World Cup Conference. The competition is supposed to take place in the US, Mexico, and Canada. With minutes of victory, Thomas Kojo placed the roster 10 points in the group, 2 points up from India, currently occupying the second position with 12 points. There were mixed reactions from the Bruins who batted to rush the Lone Star, with some mentioning that there is still room for improvement, taking into consideration the performance of the team against Anders Altomini in Principe. And sports coach Thomas Kojo Boys, one of the families initiative, discussing that the team showed a better composition than previous performances. The president of the Liberia Basketball Coaches Association, BICA, has advised all registered basketball coaches to avoid participating in any tournaments or Olympics that are not sanctioned by the Liberia Basketball Association. The African said any coach doing so will be doing it at their own risk, adding that the Liberia Basketball Coaches Association will not appear or negotiate on behalf of any coach who will be suspended by the Liberia Basketball Association executives. This concern is as a result of the proliferation of basketball tournaments or festivals across Liberia without approval of the Liberia Basketball Association. The leadership of the Liberia Football Federation, headed by University of Myean, has congratulated the president of the International Olympic Committee, the ROC, Captain Coventry. In a statement on the website of the Liberia Football Federation, President Lee and his corps of officers said they celebrate her historic victory as the first woman in Africa to ever be elected to serve in that position. He added that they are of the strongest conviction that with his steadfast and dedicated leadership, the ROC will progress for the overall development of our sports. Former FIFA President Sepp Blatter and celebrated French footballer Michel Platini have been cleared of corruption charges related to allegations of fraud by a global footballing body. An appeals court in Midlands near Baxi in Switzerland on Tuesday cleared the two of them property over a payment of 2 million Swiss francs in $1.6 million. Blatter married to Platini in 2011. Both men have consistently denied wrongdoing. The two were first acquitted of 4 offenses in 2022, but a verdict was appealed by Swiss federal prosecutors. The Myean case stems from 2015 when FIFA became led in allegations of fraud and corruption, culminating in a dramatic raid in Zurich resulting from a separate US probe. The scandal, the biggest in football history, involved collusion between officials from government bodies and sports marketing executives, with fraud, robbery, racketeering, and many regular offenses convicted. And followed by Madrid in talks, they were finalizing the sale of European football current Arizona Award on a free transfer this summer. Discussions over a protracted transfer are ongoing as the Spanish side looked to secure the England international before the start of next season. Local sources close to the negotiations After BBC spread that while a deal is still to be fully agreed, work towards completing the transfer is reaching the closing stages, though nothing has been signed yet. Alexander Arnold is in the final 2 months of his contract at Liverpool in the Strait of his first arrival abroad. We have made a 26-year-old a priority started this summer, with sources close to the situation saying the Spanish club have been tracking the player for close to 2 years. Alexander Arnold spent his entire career at Anfield, coming through the academy to make more than 200 appearances for the club. Was when Edwin Adjective returned to Liverpool against the club's vast captain as a
Many thanks to Naomi Tapia for bringing us the passion of last sports. In more developments, the Ministry of Internal Affairs has announced the suspension of all traditional practices across the country as of January, that's April 30th, 2025. The decision, according to Internal Affairs Minister Francis Yumani, is attributed to the proliferation of traditional practices without check and balance. Addressing a news conference Tuesday in Monrovia, Minister Yumani disclosed that the decision comes following a consultation meeting with Council of Chiefs across the 15 counties.
The Chief Executive President Walker attaches great importance to our culture and tradition. It stands for the promotion of positive traditional and cultural practices. Of late, for the past 1 year since this government came to power, there have been numerous complaints from across the country of traditional communities, especially so as it has to do with the issue of standing and poorer societies. The voice of the chiefs of this country on traditional matters representing aims and aspirations of the government are recommended and were endorsed as follows. One, that as of the 30th of April 2025, all activities involving poorer and sandy societies are suspended.
He is Internal Affairs Minister Francis Yumani. They are speaking in a related development. The Ministry of Internal Affairs had dissolved with immediate effect all positions existing in cultural leadership. According to Minister Yumani, the decision was made to allow all counties' cultural coordinator positions recommendation to be done through the office of the county superintendent.
Council of Chiefs at the county level will recommend traditional and cultural coordinators to the office of the county superintendent for appointment by the Ministry of Internal Affairs as coordinators. All existing cultural leaders, all positions regarding whether they call you cultural superintendent, cultural lead, are hereby all dissolved with immediate effect. The chiefs and other traditional leaders will be making a shortly to promulgate regulations that will govern traditional practices.
His Internal Affairs Minister Francis Yumani, they are speaking at a press conference in Monrovia. Grade students of the Monrovia Consolidated School System have intensified protest in solidarity with MCSS teachers' salaries increment, among others. Recently, the MCSS Teachers Association announced an indefinite stay-home action until the demands can be addressed by national government. Then listen to the students, the highlights for the students. That was a highlight from protesting MCSS students there on today. Meanwhile, Minister of Education, Dr. Jasu Jala, has termed the MCSS students' protest as a plot carried out for personal gains. That Jala disclosed that the Monrovia Consolidated School System has an annual budget of $4.2 million United States dollars, emphasizing that a total of $3.9 million United States dollars is issued for salaries.
And also by volunteering on the process. It has been brought to our attention that the students are taking protest on the violence in teachers and kids. Let me send this strong warning to those who will use our students to fight their battles. We are not going to take it away, because our children need to be in the classroom. They need to be educated. We owe them that much.
She's Dr. Jaso Jala. She's Liberia's education minister. They're condemning protest action from students of the Monrovia Consolidated School System who are calling on national government for the equipment of the salary of their teachers and other demands. Taking us home on today's edition of the program News Desk. But as we take leave of you, a recap of the headlines. Ministry of Internal Affairs announced the suspension of traditional practices in Liberia until January 2026 as Minister Francis Human threatens unspecified action against Kubi violators. Aggrieved students of the Monrovia Consolidated School System continued their protests calling on national government to address MCSS teachers' plights, including salary increment, as Education Minister Dr. Jaso Jala described the student protest as a plot carried out for personal gains. Public Safety Division of the Ministry of Justice and the Liberia Medical and Dental Council have with immediate effect shut down Lofa Medics Service Clinic in Jacobtown, Painesville, for medical malpractice resulting to the death of a patient. And away from Liberia, a Sudanese war monitor accuses the military of killing hundreds of people in an airstrike at a market in the country's western region. We'd love to say many thanks to our writers, contributors, correspondents for making today's edition of the program a success. Special thanks to affiliate radio station for relaying this broadcast. Naketa Roberts was here with the reading of the news bulletin. Naomi Tapia factored in the partial live sports. Kobo Sangasara control and produce our sounds. Myean Torgbean was behind the camera bringing us live on Rio TV. My name is Johnson Gbarntolmah. I presented thanks to Orange Liberia and EcoBank Liberia Limited. Good night.
Ria TV, True FM.
Say Ria TV, True FM.
On Ria TV.
Into True FM 96.1.
What's the meaning of the black barrel?
The black barrel is to tell Joseph Bakala, if you don't organize yourself in a respectful manner, we'll keep your paper like
You might say what you want to say, but for us, we are here to make sure we build our country, that we are respected. We have donors that are coming because of the confidence.
Some news summary of 12. My name is Naketa Roberts. Welcome to News and Analysis 30 minutes of news presentation about Liberia, Africa, and our one world.
Presenting this newscast is proudly sponsored by Orange Liberia and EcoBank Liberia Limited.
How is life after the presidency?
But before the presidency, the same life, that's what you see. I live a different life. You know, when I was not president, this life, that's what I live, you know, with my family and
I have a lot of interest in the health sector, the educational sector, and the agriculture sector. Roads, connecting roads in this country.
We are calling international community to come to intervene for us because, like I just stated previously, we don't know who to trust.
Always make sure to turn on to our
Ria TV and listening to True FM 96.1.